The Sword Coast, a wilderness of jagged snow-capped peaks and alpine forests, hiding ancient strongholds filled with bandits, monsters, and treasure. It is little wonder then that Neverwinter, the Sword Coast capital, draws fortune seekers from all across the Forgotten Realms. So named because... well, actually I seem to have forgotten. Anyway, here is where 3 such hopeful fortune seekers found themselves drinking at a rather forgettably named pub. They had not yet been acquainted. However, Boniface, Keith, who wears sandals, and Baldric IV had a mutual friend in Gundren Rockseeker, who had a job for them. Together, they were to deliver a wagon of mining supplies to Phandalin for some seemingly secret but very important reason. To the 3, 10 gold pieces was obviously the very important reason. Once the 3, shall we say couriers, had set on their way, Gundren and his warrior friend Sildar hightailed ahead, shouting, "See you in Phandalin! I'll have your 10 gold pieces ready for you." And so, the tale of the strangely self-proclaimed named Wankelmoet5 begins. On the road to Phandalin. Taking the south road out of Neverwinter towards Phandalin, the 5, who were more accurately 3, were ambushed by goblins. Boniface, a high elf wizard, showing little patience and experience with humanoid peoples and the like, managed to capture, interrogate, and slay a goblin, taking both a scimitar and the goblin's left arm as a trophy. He'd also managed to ascertain that Sildar and Gundren had been taken hostage and kept at the nearby Cragmore Caves. Having arrived at the Cragmore Caves, successfully navigated the treacherous terrain and a few traps that the goblins had set, Keith, who wears sandals, a Thundertree village refugee and fighter of his own renown, managed to show off his excellent rural prowess and animal handling skills by taming a rather nasty-looking pack of wolves. The 3 continued into the cave and came across a rather large goblin who named himself Ymik and was holding Sildar captive. Making a deal for Sildar's life was easy. All that Ymik required was them to defeat the bugbear Clarg residing in the very same cave, to which the team immediately set off and defeated with beauty and skill. Returning to Ymik, they continued their negotiations for Sildar's life successfully. With loot, a new wolf pelt for Keith, who wears sandals, and Sildar in tow, the party continued with their bounty onward to Phandalin. Phandalin and the Red Brand Ruffians. Having reached Phandalin, the Wankelmoet5, who are still 3, learned that Gundren's very important reason, other than the 10 gold pieces, was in fact to reopen the long-lost Wave Echo Cave and the site of the Phandelver's Pact Forge of Spells. Ooh. This, of course, he was going to do with the help of his 2 brothers. Sildar, having recuperated from his capture and feeling a little more hearty in Silvermine Inn having a draft, confirmed that Gundren had in fact been taken to Cragmore Castle by order of a mysterious character known as the Black Spider, or so he had overheard when Ymik was speaking to his crew. Having collected their 10 gold pieces each and finishing their draft at the Stone Mill Inn, the team ventured out into town. Whilst Boniface was captivated at the Shrine of Luck by Sister Gariel, taking on a new quest, no doubt, Keith, who wears sandals, was to much amusement of Baldric IV, proclaiming his honour and flirtations with the young ladies of the town. You see, Baldric IV was in fact heir to the Corlin Hill County, and as such stood to inherit the title and privileges as Count thereof. As a point of fact, Corlin Hill was, for the last 3 decades, nothing more than a smouldering, ashen, volcanic wasteland from the eruption of Mount Hotenai. Though in reality, Baldric IV was no count, and could not hold himself as a count. Hang on, I think that explains their rather odd nom de partie. I digress. Having eventually given up on their rather unsuccessful frivolities and flirtations, Baldric and Keith, who wear sandals, continued with their business at hand and met up with Boniface. Quests. They had discovered that ruffians were plaguing the small town of Phandalin, orcs were on the road to the west, and Gundren was at a place called Cragmore Castle, somewhere located in the forest. Having now gained their quests, they all retired into the Stonehill Inn for their evening's respite. Following morning, Keith, who wears sandals, awoke and found himself suddenly alone. Boniface had left word with the innkeeper that he was needed back home for his sister due to an emergency, and Baldric had decided that he would enjoy some leisure time in Phandalin, perhaps picking up from where Keith left off. Keith, knowing that he was destined for greatness, took the mantle of leadership and led the Wankelmoet5, now countless and one, out of the Stonehill Inn and onward toward a miners' exchange. At some point en route, Keith suspiciously became aware that his shadow had become somewhat more substantial than merely a blockage of directional light. Quickly turning on his heels, he was met by a broad, menacing smile of what looked to be a furry-footed small human. Enter Bolstep, halfling rogue, pickpocket extraordinaire, a local, and probably nothing more than 3 foot tall. After a brief discussion, there were now 2 of the Wankelmoet5, up to 40%. During their introductions, a commotion was heard within the miners' exchange, culminating in a rather solid ball of red beard and leather flying through the door and landing in the sand in front of them. The evident dwarf immediately rose and returned within, shouting, "I am Calf, cousin of Gondren, and I will have my bounty. It's not my fault that they're still hiding away in their secret lair." Hearing this, Keith and Bolstep, perhaps from mutual knowledge that there is strength in numbers, and that their numbers are sadly short of their name, decided to extend a hand of camaraderie with this Calf Rockseeker and assist him on his quest. The now revised Wankelmoet party, quest in hand, set off to Tresenda Manor and into the depths of the Red Brand ruffians' hideout. Working together in surprisingly efficient and coordinated manner, the party rooted out Glassstaff, also known as Sildar's once friend Iano Albrecht, who despite genuine good effort of Wankelmoet's, escaped through a secret exit. As luck would have it, the party discovered the location of Cragmore Castle and set out, after refreshment naturally, to the rescue of Gundren. Cragmore Castle. In an effort to gain favour with the party, Bolstep decided to make use of his skills as a rogue and carefully navigated the forest nearing Castle Cragmore, where they came across another halfling performing some sort of martial art meditation in a small clearing. After careful and whispered consultation, the 3 members of the Wankelmoet5, still 3, approached the stranger. Merrick was his name, a monk who specialized in martial arts and just so happened to be heading to Cragmore Castle to visit the site of a historic battle. Having discovered that the castle was occupied by a small army, Merrick decided to meditate on his best approach. In exchange for their assistance, Merrick advised them of a secret entrance into the castle, and they devised a plan. It is not clear to the dungeon master as to whether it was Keith, Bolstep, or Calf who shouted something along the lines of and opted to forego the well-planned assault and charge through the front door. Miraculously, the now 4 fives had scopt, skittered, and donnered their way through hordes of goblins, bugbears, hobgoblins, and even a grick, to finally arriving at one of their biggest challenges yet. The 4 now stand on opposing ends of what were the king's quarters, facing off against King Groll, a large, fierce bugbear, Snarl, a mangy but dangerous-looking wolf, and a female drow with a deceptive look on her face. In the south of the room lies Gundren unconscious. In a bold and totally overcomplicated stroke of genius or stupidity, Bolstep tipped over a brazier, having Merrick line the floor with oil to block off Snarl and the drow behind a wall of flame. Remarkably, that worked. Calf cast an unsuccessful ray of sickness towards Snarl, and Snarl now stands prepared for his attack. It is fortuitous and lucky that the roof has a gaping hole in it and is open to the elements, otherwise the party would probably meet their demise in an unfortunate inhalation of smoke. When the Wankelmoet5, who are now 4, are ready to continue with their battle, please do let your dungeon master know a convenient date and time. Until then, we wait.